Hey there, it's Sandy with Quilted Treasures and More. I am so glad that you are able to join me this evening. I've got technology doing strange things over here to my right. Give me just a second here. I don't know what's going on. I said something and it started, I don't know, doing a search or something. Technology. Can't live with it, can't live without it. What can I tell you? Well, thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday. It has been a week of trying to get back into the routine of life for us here at my house as we went through a couple of weeks of various sicknesses and whatnot going on. And so, that's always fun when you have to get back into the routine after being down or taking care of sick ones in the house. So it's been a week of catch up and just trying to get, like I said, back in the routine of life. So, what's on my crafting table this week? Well, I posted fall or Christmas because I have been doing a lot of fall, and I did a Christmas ornament last week. This one, the little Santa belly. So you can see, you know, sitting next to me, you can see how big it is. It's about the size from the top of my middle finger to the bottom of my palm here, so about 6 inches. So I did that last week. So a little bit of Christmas thrown in there, even though we're in the month of September, and a lot of what we think of in September is either football or we're getting ready for fall. So as we go into the month of October, there will be more Christmas stuff. And we might even throw in a Halloween here before we actually hit October, or we might throw in some Thanksgiving. So it's not all Christmas in the month of October. All right, so this evening, if you live along the Gulf Coast, well, actually anywhere, really, because my family lives north, like in North Alabama, not up north, but northward in North Alabama and in Tennessee. And they had really nice temperatures over the period of a few days. And we had some really nice temperatures here along the Gulf Coast. And when you throw in some really nice temps, you get to thinking about um, fall coming and what you can do to spruce up your yard and the things that you don't want to do during the middle of the summer because it's so hot and those kinds of things. Also, as I stepped out one morning, I got to thinking about, the festivals that come up in the fall months when it gets cool and craft shows and the fair and all that good stuff. And so I went ahead and picked another fall door hanger to do because we're really getting to that point where we're winding down and getting ready to transition. So, fall, even though fall is not here, most of you will be decorating here in the next few weeks for fall. And so, uh, you'll already have your fall decorations up and out by the time of 1st of October comes. And so I will transition more into Christmas, probably throw in some Thanksgiving. I might throw in a football because football season goes on for a few months. And if you are fortunate enough that your team goes past the normal season, then it gets extended a little bit. But we might throw in some football there as well. All right, so we're going to get started on this. This is pumpkins, in case you can't really tell. I did base coat this white just to throw this in there. We will be using orange, a couple of different oranges and browns. And a lot of times when doing oranges and browns, I'll base coat with a what is called buttermilk, which is an off-white. But I went ahead and did this one with white, mostly because I use white for a base coat so much that I really didn't stop and I guess the correct phrase is I did not pause before choosing my base coat paint. So you could base coat with the buttermilk color, and that actually I think is probably little better color for the browns and the oranges, but we're gonna go with white. And so we're gonna get started with our basket full of pumpkins here. And one thing that I did this week is, if you remember, in the month of July, I started promoting an art club, an online art club. And then in August, I opened up the online art club and took subscribers. It's currently closed. The membership is closed. I will have another opportunity for folks to sign up and subscribe before fall is over with. I don't have a set date for that because we just officially got started this week with our very first lesson. And so it's been super exciting to watch kids get excited about the art kit and to see what they do because we have a private Facebook group for our art club. And I encourage moms and dads or grandparents to take a picture of the art that their child, grandchild, niece, nephew has done and post it within our Facebook group. And so that way I get to see what the kids are doing and how their creativity and their imagination is working because not everybody is going to have the same favorite colors and not everybody's going to have the same thought process when it comes to painting. And that's true for door hangers as well. You may look at the colors I choose and go, that wouldn't fit with my decor. I would have picked a purple or I would have picked a cranberry. And so there you go. There's the difference in creativity and the difference in, how I would decorate versus how you would decorate. So it's been really neat to watch as as pictures have been posted and I've been able to see the kids and their different color choices and some of their designs. And so the art club, just a real quick breakdown of the art club. There's two options for the art club. You can do the video option, video only, and what that amounts to is each month or each week, I'm sorry, you will receive the video through the Facebook group. At the beginning of the month, you will receive an email with a list of supplies that you will need to purchase for your child or children. If you are part of the box club, which is option 2, then you will receive delivered to your front door a box with the supplies that are needed for that month's art lessons. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the art club is not open right now for members, but you can get on a wait list. Now, you may be thinking, well, why would I want to get on the wait list? Because, number one, you get first dibs before the doors officially open to join, to sign up, and subscribe to the QT Kids Monthly Art Club. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, that sometimes, not right at this moment, but sometimes there will be opportunities extended to the next person or persons on the wait list to go ahead and get into the club before, or go ahead and subscribe to the club before there's even an opportunity for the doors to open. Because, things happen, life happens. Just like my family had to deal with sickness here for a couple of weeks, life happens. And sometimes you have to, uh, rearrange the finances. And so my goal is to keep a certain number of subscribers at all times And if someone has to leave because of financial uh, changes, then that means that I'm going to need somebody to take their spot. And so there will be times when I will send out an email and say, hey, I have an opening. I have a spot that has come open, and would you like to join? And if so, here's the link. Go sign up and get set up for your monthly subscription. So that's the second reason to join the wait list for the QT Kids Art Club. And in the description of this video, there is a link to the wait list that you can go and get on the wait list and be there. One, to find out information ahead of time when membership will be open. But number two, it's very possible you could get an invitation to join prior to opening, depending upon if I have my quota change for the number of subscribers that I have for the art club. So it's been a full week as I have gotten things ready and uh, officially launched the first lesson. And then it was exciting to see pictures and to hear about my young artist getting excited about getting to do their first art lesson. So that was really neat. So it's been a good week. It's been a crazy week trying to get back into all the routines, because when you lay around and you don't feel well, and you have others that don't feel well and you're trying to take care of them, and it just takes a little bit extra to get back into that, routine of everyday life. So, but I am very thankful that we are all feeling better and that we are getting there. And we have catch up to do, but that's okay. We are going to get there. All right, so what I've done is I have put down on my basket a coat of oyster beige. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of honey brown and I'm going to put it over here on the side. And I'm going to take a big brush. I feel like I just wiped paint all over my face, which would not be the first time, I got to tell you. I'm going to take what they call a chip brush. And you may be thinking, I got a bunch of those around my house from when I painted the bedroom or the bathroom or the kitchen. Yes, this is a chip brush, and I'm just going to dab a little bit of the paint onto the bristles. Not much, just a little bit. Because I'm not going to paint this portion here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to streak it. Okay, so I'm just going to come across and I'm going to very lightly, I'm not going to bear down with my brush. I'm going to very lightly come across. Now add a little more paint. It's always better to come back and have to add than to all of a sudden glob and discover, ooh, now I have to cover. Or in some cases, start over and redo. All right, so I'm just going to streak some places here and just give it kind of a grain look, or, I mean, it's a basket. One of those wooden baskets like you'd gather peas in the summertime, or, go out in the field and squash. I'm going to have everybody wanting summer gardens now, now that we're in fall and we can't get any of that stuff. All right, so I'm just adding in just a little bit of detail here with my chip brush. And I'm not worried about going over the top of these other places. And the reason being is because I've got darker colors that I'm going to be using in those areas. Now, this was honey brown. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a little bit of marigold. Now, marigold is a little bit darker, but I'm going to give it just a little bit of marigold as well. And that way it's, God, I'm not even going to rinse the brush, okay? I'm just going to take and dab it in the marigold a little bit, dab a little bit off. You can see what I'm doing. I came beside the paint and just dabbed a little bit off. And now I'm just going to go in and streak a little bit in so that way it has just a little bit of color variation. Now, if you do this and you think, oh, it's too dark, I don't like it, you can spread it out a little bit, or you can always come back and get the Oyster Beige and lightly go over again, tap out, and lightly go over again, so that way it softens it up some. Like I've got a little bit extra yellow there that I may thin it out some. We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and move to the next thing so that way I'll know if I need to soften it up or if it ends up working really well. So I'm going to take my chip brush and put it in the water. And next, I'm going to move to the bands on my basket. And my bands, I'm going to do in a darker gray. So this is not your typical, some baskets you see, actually that's not the gray that I had originally picked. That's okay. I had a thought process, and I still may do this. I had thought about taking, did I just lean over in the middle of that? I'm notorious for I need to start remembering to put my apron on. It's one thing I do with the art club is, make sure I have an apron on, because the paints that we use in the art club, even though they're watercolor type paints, you still want to be careful and not get them on your clothes. Am I off camera? Yes, I am. One day I will get my stand situated so that, I don't know why I put the gray in the lid. I needed to put it here. Let's try this again. Take two on the gray. Put it in the egg carton so that way I have enough that I'm not dipping my brush 472 times. Okay, now I just rubbed my gray over the top of my basket, but I'm not going to sweat it too much because I do have to do my lines, my accent lines, or my division lines, and so I'm not going to sweat it right at the moment. I may have to come back and clean it up, but now if I had gone much further, I'd be grabbing a baby wipe right about now. All right, so I'm just working on the bands on our basket. And I do have a darker shade of gray that I had originally planned on using. And I may come back and use it as a shadow, or I could actually use a lighter color as a shadow. We'll see. just to put a little shading in there and add just a little bit of variation. I may go with the darker color. Actually, it may be so close to this color that it may not show up. Might do better picking a lighter color gray. We'll see. It's one of those, I'll think on it for a little bit and then I'll decide. All right, so one more band. It's right up here. And I should have gone with just a tinge smaller brush because now I am in a tight spot. That's okay. I just turned my brush sideways. And then that way I can get into some of the smaller areas without going over too much. Okay. Now, looking at the band, this gray color, it is not a solid coverage, okay? Because this is a basket that's probably been well used and may have been left out in the weather at some point, I could leave this and it looks like the band is in the process of changing colors. So, I'm going to think on that for a minute. I'm doing an awful lot of thinking tonight. I may have to take some Tylenol when I get off. My head may hurt after this. Oh, goodness. Okay. I am going to leave that just the way it is. It shows through because, like I said, it's not even, but it gives it that rustic or well used look. And so I kind of like that look on this basket. I'm going to go and start on the pumpkins because we have quite a few of those to do. And I am starting with Canyon Orange. This is one of the ones that I like to use for pumpkins. I also like Spiced Orange. It's a little bit darker orange. And then there's also pumpkin. I'm sorry, I drew a blank. I was like, Lord have mercy. I am working on pumpkins and I can't remember that the color is called pumpkin. Oh, me, oh my. Canyon Orange is one of my favorites for pumpkins. I just like the way it looks. Spiced Pumpkin is a little bit, I don't want to say darker. The tint is just a little different, but it's very, very close to the Canyon Orange. But I like to use the Spiced Pumpkin as well. So all I'm doing is just going over the little pumpkin here in Canyon Orange. And I will do a second coat on this one because it's going to give it that nice orange color that I like from the Canyon Orange. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to start and probably do two more pumpkins in this color. I've got 3 colors picked out for pumpkins. I do have a second orange, but I'm going to do one of them a buttermilk color. So it'll be just a little bit different. You could also take and add a little bit of red to the orange and get just a little bit of a variation, maybe a darker color pumpkin. Or you could, if you wanted a lighter color pumpkin, you could add either white or some of the yellow to the orange and get a slight variation that way. Oh, it's still part of the pumpkin. I'm sitting here looking. I've got these little pieces here are not grass. It's actually hay. And for whatever reason, I thought the hay was attached to another pumpkin, but our other pumpkin starts here. All right, so when I finish this one, I'm going to go back down and put a second coat on the little one. And then I'll come back and put a second coat on this one because it should be pretty close to dry. And then I'm going to choose the third one that I will do in the Canyon orange color. And then, like I said, I've got another orange called Pumpkin that I'm going to use. And I think I'm going to do this one in that one in the Canyon orange. And then I'm going to do one of the pumpkins in buttermilk. I did it was the Happy Fall, y'all, that I did with 3 colors. And the pumpkins were spiced pumpkin, mint color, and sweet mint, and then buttermilk. I did that last year. The Happy Fall, y'all, that was a variation. The majority of them that I did were all orange pumpkins, but I did have one ordered that that was done in tricolor. So that was fun. You could actually do those 3 colors in this grouping. Goodness, excuse me. Every now and again, I still get a little bit of a tickle in my throat. And I guess it's just gonna, some years I'll have that where when my allergies really are bad. And this year I just had a bad allergy issue going on for several days. And I have this one little tickle that doesn't occur every day, but every now and again it like comes back to haunt me or something. I don't know. I actually have a bottle of water here over my shoulder because I'm like, okay, we're going to be prepared. When you deal with allergies for the majority of your life, you learn. you learn how things how they work and behave, and you learn how to deal with them and live through it, and life goes on kind of thing. All right, so I'm going to go back down here to our little pumpkin friend, to the little baby pumpkin. And I am going to put a second coat on him. Now, I will be doing shading, and so I could actually wait. And so, you know what? I think I'm going to wait on the other 2. And what I'm going to do is I will put the second coat just before I shade, do some shading on them. So that way you can see the shading, how you do the shading and blending of the two colors. All right, so as you can tell, here's Canyon Orange and Orange next to each other. You can see how they're a little bit different. The one is a little brighter. So I'm gonna rinse my brush out. And then I'm gonna start with the pumpkin orange. And so these pumpkins will be just a little bit brighter. Of course, all pumpkins are not the same shade. And as I said, you could add a little yellow in if you want to change up and have all the pumpkins different colors. Or you could add a little red in. And just have all kinds of variations to your pumpkins. Slide him over just a little bit. I just painted right over the top of that stem. It's a good thing the stems are going to be a darker color. I was getting ready to take off, y'all. I was going to get this pumpkin done. So funny, I was sitting here because I missed a couple of weeks of doing lives. I sitting here a few minutes ago getting ready to start the countdown, and I got to looking around and I went, I have a cup of water. So I'm like, oh my goodness. When I first started doing Facebook Lives, I had a checklist. And my checklist was so that I would not sit down and find myself minus some of my supplies. Because it's a little hard once you're sitting here and going to go hold and go get something. So I've had to do that before, but it's not my favorite thing. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to lay this brush right over here for just a moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a different brush. And the reason being, this last pumpkin is going to be buttermilk. And so it's going to be a lighter color. And I don't want, we're coming down to the last of the buttermilk. Buttermilk is one of those colors that I really do like, just to give a variation from using white a lot. Especially in the fall, I like to use the buttermilk color. But I did not realize I was running a little low. All right, this is not the best brush, but we're going to go with it. All right, I'm going to pull him down just a little. This is the one I grabbed, so we will go with it. Just means I'm going to have to do a lot more strokes, and it's going to take just a little bit longer. But that's okay, we'll survive. I should have put a poll up today. Who is already decorated for fall? Or do you wait till after September and you decorate for football in September? I actually have not put my football wreath out. And yes, I did say wreath because several years ago when the mesh wreaths were really big, I did a big team wreath for our house. And so I have not replaced it with a door hanger. So for the month of September, I do vary up my door decoration, and it still has a mesh wreath that shows up with our team colors. All right, so there is my buttermilk. Now I'm going to hang on to that just for a second because, and I'm debating, it's time to get to doing some shading. And sometimes I like to use an angled brush, not a angled brush, but an angled brush. And then sometimes I sometimes I will use a flat brush. It just depends. Here's my favorite one. But I am thinking this one may be too big for turn it around here so I can see my angled brushes. Maybe too big, but I don't have a smaller one. Okay, that's as small as it gets. We're going to have to make it work. Either that or use a smaller flat brush, which is possible. I do have some smaller flat brushes. So we may vary it up a little bit. We may use my angled brush some, and we may use a flat brush some. All right, so first I'm going to start with burnt sienna. And I won't need a lot, so I'm just going to put a couple of drops here to start with and see how far we go. First, I am going to get a little bit of my Canyon Orange because you need to have the color, the base color fluid. So that way you can, and I've dipped just the tip end into the burnt sienna. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little shadow here. Now, if you're not careful, you can erase your shadow if you go over it too many times. And I am notorious for that. I'm also notorious for bending down or bearing down too hard in trying to get my shading. And so I have to take a few times on the first few tries and try to get it just right. And then I end up with a little shadow. Now I'm going to come back and go into the Canyon Orange and get a little bit of the burnt sienna. And just create that shadow. And if you do like me, because I'm still trying to get the go away bug, trying to get the correct, what am I trying to say, pressure with my brush. If you erase it, like sometimes I tend to do, just grab a little more of the darker shading color and come back and do it again. And you're just blending it so that it just fades from one to the other. Now I'm going to do the opposite side here. And I just realized I forgot to put my main color down. So yeah, that's got a nice bold edge to it. Oh my goodness, y'all. Of course, I'm also trying to do this the other way rather than what I'm comfortable with, being a right-handed person. And so I'm kind of doing this backwards. And so it makes it interesting. My shading can come out not bizarre, but just varied when I have to go back the other way, as I call it. All right, so there's the shading on our smaller pumpkin. Now I'm going to start on some of our bigger pumpkins. And if you remember, I did not put a second coat on these, so I've got to go back and get the second coat on these pumpkins. So while I'm doing my second coat, I'm going to go ahead and get the shading in. We have let a fly in the house, and he undoubtedly likes my paint. Either that or he thinks these are real pumpkins, one of the two. So anyway, pesky fly. Reminds me of the little song that my mom used to sing when I was little. The flies in the buttermilk. Talked about flies in the buttermilk. Shoo, fly, shoo. And something about skip to my loo, my darling, or something like that. I don't remember. Maybe I'm combining songs. It would not be the first time. Oh my goodness. But I do remember flies in the buttermilk, shoo, fly, shoo. All right, little fly. You need to go away. So again, I'm just going back with my Canyon Orange, and what I'm doing, I'm putting a second coat on, and then I am doing the shading for the pumpkins that have the Canyon Orange and now have their second coat. Now, you may be wondering, are you going to use the same colors for the other two pumpkin colors? Good question. I will probably use a more of a probably the marigold color, which is what I used here in the basket. I'll probably use that on the one called pumpkin, the ones I painted pumpkin. And then that way it will give it, oh goodness, it will give it a variation. I may have to rinse my brush. I'm starting to get more of my sienna as I am trying to get that second coat on my pumpkins. I don't want to change the color of my pumpkin all the way around. sometimes you do have to take a pit stop, and rinse your brush out, and then come back and start the process again, because sometimes the brush will get paint in it so that it begins to cross over, and then it becomes more of changing color of the pumpkin rather than shading of the pumpkin, which you do not want. You want the variation in the color. You don't want, as far as shading goes, you don't want your pumpkin to completely become a different color. I didn't do the shading next to my outline there. All right, let's see. I think I'm going to shade on the top of this pumpkin just a little bit. And then I think I'm going to do the same with this one rather than coming down the inside. Just going to shade some at the top. And what I'm calling the top is where it's not the top of the pumpkin. It's where that pumpkin has the shadows, we would call them. All right, so this is the last pumpkin with the Canyon Orange. So I'm just going to get the second coat on here real quick, and then move toward getting the shading on this one done. Now this one's going to have a little short area here, but this area here, kind of lost in my bright light there. I kind of lost that one. I can't tell if he got shaded or not. Maybe so. I'll check him once I get through. If he didn't, then I'll go back and I'll fix him. Because sometimes I get a glare on the door hanger once I start painting it from the lights, and sometimes I can't tell if the color I'm using is completely shaded like I like. And so sometimes after I finish with my live, I'll come back and I'm like, oh no, we gotta add a little bit to this one, or this one needs a little extra help, or I find places that I need to touch up. All right, so almost through with our last Canyon Orange. And then we'll move on to our pumpkin orange. And like I said, I think I'm going to do that one with a marigold color. And so that way it has a variation. It doesn't have the same brown, orange and brown tones that you see on the Canyon Orange pumpkins. So it'll give it just a little bit of difference. And then with our buttermilk pumpkin up here, what I want to do is probably go back and use the honey brown, which is what I used on the basket. And then that way it's a different brown from what is on my Canyon Orange pumpkins. All right, so there's that group of pumpkins. And get my brush cleaned out good. And we will move to the pumpkin orange. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the marigold. No, I'm not going to use the marigold color. What did I do with my, here it is. I'm going to use the ochre color. And the ochre color, number one, this paint is very thick. But the ochre color is a little bit darker than the marigold. Is this little bit up here. And so it'll give us a little bit different touch of color as well. Ah, my little fly friend is back. Tell you what, he is just liking my pumpkins. I won't go as far to say they're very realistic looking, but you know. I think he just likes the paint personally. I don't think it has anything to do with the pumpkins, but you know, it's nice to think along those lines. Hey, we can all dream, right? All right, so I'm just adding in shading with the ochre color so that it gives it a little bit different look than our Canyon Orange pumpkins. Now come up here and get our other pumpkin friend. And I am just, let me move him down a little bit. I'm just gonna take each section and add a little bit of shading to it. And then add, once I get the base, then I'll add the shading color, which in this case is ochre. Not okra. Boy, we're just going into the fall garden big time tonight, aren't we? I'm going to be wanting a veggie plate from somewhere. All right, so I'm going to turn this just a little bit so I can see from the glare, get the glare kind of away from where I'm painting, so that way I can kind of watch my shading as I go around. I hadn't actually painted that one with the second shade, but it kind of carried over, and so it worked out well for that one. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 sections here, and then I will be finished up with this one, and all I will have left is to get our buttermilk pumpkin done. All right, so for our buttermilk pumpkin, I'm going to go back and get some of the honey brown that I've got here. I'm hoping that I don't have any bleed over. Should have done my buttermilk pumpkin first. I should have. Oh well. It's one of those live and learn kind of things, you know? All right, so I'm going to put the second coat of buttermilk on. Do my first section here. I'll go ahead and see if I can get both of those done. And then my honey brown may have gotten a bit too stiff. Let's see. I can always add some water and bring it back to life. And when you're shading, you don't have to do the exact same amount of shading as you go around. You may look at it and think, you know, this one may need a little more, and this one may need a little less. This one I'm going to do, I don't usually do from bottom up, but this one I am going to do from bottom up. You have to kind of watch also when you're putting your second coat on. From time to time, I will find where my shading color blends in a little too well with my base color, and then I find streaks, and I have to go back and kind of touch it up. Sometimes those streaks look kind of cool, though. They kind of give it a little extra personality, I guess you could say. Okay, so there is our buttermilk pumpkin. All right, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to get back into the marigold. The marigold is the one that I used on the basket. But what I'm going to do this time is we're going to use the marigold for the hay that is here. And my marigold has gotten a little stiff. So I just mixed it up a little bit, and I'm just going to put a drop of water in here with it and just liven it back up. You know, I have a little bit of that ochre sitting right beside it. I could do a little mixing here in a few minutes and add a little variation. You could also shade, you know, with the ochre if you wanted to get detailed on the hay as well. Just depends on what you're thinking when you look at it and what your ideas are for your masterpiece. I am off camera. You could also do your hay a more golden color. If you think this is too dark of a yellow, if you wanted a bright, and when I say gold, I mean like bright gold. So I am just working through and getting the hay. It's so funny looking now, there's a little triangle here, and I'm wondering, was that triangle? Yep, that triangle was a piece of hay. And I painted it orange. May have to do a little shading now because I have one piece of hay that is very different shade from the rest of it. So we may have to do a little varying in our colors so he doesn't look out of place. But that's okay. I'll have to go back over all of the hay and get it nice and even. One more. Go ahead and tap just a little bit over the top of that one that I accidentally painted orange. And if you find that it's not lightening up and you don't like the shade, then you can go back over it with white, and then you just simply start over. Start over with your base and get it all taken care of. All right, now I'm going to move to the stems, because what I want to do is I want to do a brown stem, and I am going to use a dark chocolate for that. And then I also want to do some green stems. And so I'm going to use, this is Hauser Dark Green. I've debated, I like Hauser Dark Green for stems. I used it last year on the Happy Fall Y'all, and I liked it a lot. So I'm going to start down here with this little guy. We're going to give him a green stem because he was just cut, we'll say. How about that? He's a small, young little pumpkin. Maybe he's been picked for a cute little kid who's getting ready to have pumpkin patch pictures. And then this is a fairly small guy right here. We'll give him a green stem too. And you could always do a little mixing and matching. You could always do one brown and then maybe give it a little bit of a green overtone so that it looks like it's, you know, in the process of changing. So there's lots of different things you can do. What comes to your imagination? That's one thing. Um, what comes to mind when you see and envision these things? That's one thing I've. That's what I was getting ready to say. It's one thing I did in our first lesson at the QT Kids Art Club, the online art club. I told them, I said, you know, this is your masterpiece. This is your artwork. I don't mind you using the same colors I use, but if you have colors that you would rather see on your artwork, then you pick those colors. Also did that when I was talking to them about the shapes. We drew some shapes on our owl friend that we drew this week and this past week. And I told them, you know, this is your owl. You draw shapes on your owl that you like, that are your favorite shapes, that are shapes you like to draw. And the same is true with door hangers when you're painting door hangers. Just because you see me paint it in one set of colors, like I said earlier, that may not be your decor preference, may not be your favorite colors, may not be what you like to decorate uh, your fall theme with. So you may like the idea of having a sweet mint pumpkin stuck in the middle of this basket. I think that would really make the basket pop. Now I have one more pumpkin, our buttermilk pumpkin, and I'm trying to decide, what am I going to do his stem? Do I want it brown or do I want it green? Oh, I didn't let that one dry good. I have to go back and do a little repair on him. That's okay. I think he was the last one I did technically, and I jumped to him next. So I smeared his paint around or I moved his paint around rather than getting a good second layer on there. But that's okay. We can fix it. Brown tends to have 3 coats anyway, certain colors of brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get just a little bit of water and I'm going to just revive my honey brown. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put honey brown on the top, but you'll probably notice that at some point you may see some dark come through, and that's going to be because I didn't rinse my brush, and that's okay. It gives it, you can see a little bit of the dark in there. It gives it a variation. Matter of fact, what I may do is come up here to this one and just start painting this one and see what I come up with. Because it's going to be a little bit of the honey brown and a little bit of the chocolate. So it can be a totally different stem from the rest. All right. I'm going to jump to our, not really sure what this is, maybe a blanket or cloth that's in the basket protecting our pumpkins. I'm going to paint this one. It's called Laguna. It's that blue color, that pretty blue color that you see there. And I'm going to paint them Laguna. And then what I'm going to do is I've got a peacock teal that I am going to uh, shade with. And then I can't see my clock. I was trying to tell how long I had been painting, and I cannot see. I'm going to add polka dots onto this blanket here, cloth, whatever you want to call him. Oh, go away, Lil Nat. I don't want you in my paint. I probably will not add the polka dots on the live. I will add them and then show you the finished. But we will at least get the shading, the painting and shading done for the blanket or cloth. And then what I'll do is I'll add the polka dots and post a finished picture tomorrow. And you could paint this any color. You could paint it a cranberry color or a burgundy color or crimson color, whichever one you like to refer to that one as. I know a good number of folks that like cranberry or burgundy or crimson in their fall decorations. This just gives it a little bit of a wow. It just adds a little color that normally wouldn't be included in what we call the fall colors. It's a blanket or a cloth, so it's not something you might typically decorate with. It's just something to protect the pumpkins. And so it can be any color, any design. I'm going to put polka dots on it. You could put stripes on it. You could put plaid on it. You could put a checkerboard look on it. Stripes. I may have already said stripes. I know I said buffalo plaid. But I've done a few things with buffalo plaid lately, so I was like, I've done polka dots on summer and spring items, but I don't know that I've really done polka dots on anything for the fall. And what I'll probably do is use the buttermilk color for the polka dots because I don't really want to use white, I don't think. I think I will go with the buttermilk, and then that way it won't overpower my basket or my buttermilk, pumpkin up here. All right, so there's the basket full of pumpkins, as much as we're going to get done on this live. Now, I'm going to let this dry really well and see what areas I might need to do a little fine touch up on. And then I'll add in my polka dots probably tomorrow, and I'll post a picture of it once I have finished that. And also, once I've done some little outlining on some of my pumpkins, just going back and doing just a little bit here and there, not full blown outlining, because you want to give it a little variation. You don't want to look like you just traced it. So I am so glad you joined me this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in and being with me. If you are interested or know someone who would be interested in the art club, the link to get on the wait list, because the club is not open right now, but you can get your name on the wait list, that is in the description above the video. I hope y'all have a great week. Thank you so very much for tuning in. And in the weeks ahead, as I said, we will probably see more Christmas and may throw in some Thanksgiving and possibly some football. We may do some Thanksgiving. Do want to mention though, with fall and Christmas, uh, door hanger ordering is open, and then of course Christmas coming up. I will be revealing a Christmas paint party box here in the very near future. And of course, those are great gifts for the crafty folks on your list. And they also work very well for the Christmas party gifts, because I usually price those within um, the gift giving range, gift limit range is what I'm trying to say. So don't forget, check out our website, visit our shop, quiltedtreasuresandmore.com. And on the website, you can go to the subscribe area, and under there is QT Kids Art Club. And you can click on the link there and add yourself to the wait list. I hope y'all have a great week and a super evening. Thanks so much for watching.